Why you always lose consistency, and how to finally break the cycle. Narrator, have you ever noticed something strange? Whenever you start a new goal, you feel unstoppable. You join a gym, and for the first week, you never miss a workout. You begin studying, and suddenly you can focus for hours. You launch a YouTube channel, and ideas seem endless. Everything feels exciting, everything feels possible, but then, without warning, something changes. The dream is still there, the goal hasn't changed, the opportunity is still waiting. Yet somehow you stop showing up. What's even stranger is that most people don't know why they stopped. They blame laziness, they blame a lack of discipline, they blame motivation. But think about it, if you were truly lazy, how were you able to stay consistent for an entire week? How could someone wake up at 5 a.m. every day for 20 days, only to suddenly quit? How can a student study consistently for 10 days, then struggle to open a book on the 11th? The answer has very little to do with motivation. It has everything to do with how your brain measures progress. Here's the secret. Your brain doesn't chase success, it chases evidence. Imagine two people, one is playing a video game. The other is preparing for an important exam. Logically, the student is doing something far more valuable, yet the gamer can stay focused for 6 straight hours, while the student reaches for their phone after 30 minutes. Why? Because every few seconds the game sends a clear message. Level up, new reward, more coins, higher rank. Your brain constantly receives proof that it's moving forward. Now compare that with studying. You read for an hour, nothing changes. You study for another hour, still no visible reward. Your exam is months away. Your brain begins asking, is any of this even working? That's the moment consistency begins to disappear, not because you're weak, but because your brain can no longer see progress. Here's something most people never realize. Growth is often invisible before it becomes obvious. Think about planting a tree for weeks. Nothing appears above the ground, but beneath the surface, the roots are expanding. The tree is growing long before anyone can see it. Success works exactly the same way. The problem is, your brain doesn't naturally reward invisible progress. It wants visible evidence. So here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They measure progress by outcomes: views, subscribers, money, grades. Weight loss, the problem. Most of those things are outside your immediate control. YouTube creators check their analytics every day. Students obsess over exam results that haven't happened yet. People in the gym stare into the mirror expecting overnight transformation. Every day the brain receives the same message. Nothing has changed. Eventually, it loses interest instead. Measure what you can control. Don't count subscribers. Count videos published. Don't obsess over exam scores. Track study sessions completed. Don't wait for visible muscles. Track workouts finished. Your brain doesn't need perfection. It needs proof. Every completed action becomes evidence that you're moving forward, and evidence creates momentum. Momentum is incredibly powerful. Think about riding a bicycle. The hardest part is getting it moving. Once it gains speed, keeping it moving becomes much easier. Consistency follows the same rule. Your goal isn't to become perfect. Your goal is simply to keep moving, even slowly. Now let's talk about another sentence that quietly destroys dreams. I don't feel like it today. Most people believe this sentence is a reason. It's not, it's simply a signal. Your brain constantly evaluates every activity using two questions. How much effort will this require? How quickly will I get rewarded? Scrolling social media. Almost no effort, instant entertainment. Studying, high effort, delayed reward. Exercise, high effort, delayed reward. Learning a new skill, high effort, delayed reward. Your brain naturally chooses the option that offers immediate comfort, not because it's trying to ruin your future, but because it evolved to save energy. The solution isn't to fight your brain. It's to stop negotiating with it. Successful people don't wake up and ask, should I work today? That decision has already been made. The workout time is fixed. The study session is scheduled. The writing hour is protected. When the time arrives, there is nothing left to decide, only action. This changes everything, because consistency rarely breaks from lack of ability. It breaks from too many decisions. Every extra decision creates another opportunity for comfort to win. Reduce decisions, increase action. That's the real secret. If you learn to recognize invisible progress, and if you make your important actions non-negotiable, consistency stops depending on motivation. It becomes part of your system, and systems always outlast emotions. So the next time you feel like giving up, don't ask yourself, am I motivated? Ask yourself, what evidence can I create today? Read one page, record one video. Do one workout, write one paragraph, because every small action sends a powerful message to your brain. I am still moving forward, and once your brain believes you're making progress, consistency stops feeling like a battle. It becomes part of who you are. Why you always lose consistency. Chapter 2. The hidden contract you make with yourself. Narrator. Every promise you make creates two versions of you. The first version exists only in your imagination. The second version is created by your actions. Most people spend their lives feeding the first version. They imagine success. They picture the dream house, the perfect body, the growing YouTube channel, financial freedom, respect, but imagination alone changes nothing. Your identity is built by evidence. Every action you repeat becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. Miss one workout. It's just one missed workout. Skip one day of studying. It's just one day. Delay one important task. It can wait until tomorrow. None of these decisions seem dangerous, but they quietly send a message to your brain. My words cannot be trusted. That message is more destructive than failure itself, because once you stop trusting your own promises, even small goals begin to feel impossible. Now imagine the opposite. You decide to read 10 pages, you finish them, you promise yourself a 20-minute walk, you complete it, you upload one video, you keep your word. Something incredible happens. Your confidence doesn't come from the result. It comes from the fact that you did what you said you would do. This is how self-belief is built. Not through positive thinking, through repeated proof. There is a reason successful people appear calm under pressure. They have trained themselves to trust their own actions. When they say, I'll finish this, their mind believes them, because history supports the statement. Your past actions are constantly speaking to your future decisions. If your history is filled with broken promises, your future will hesitate. If your history is filled with promises kept, your future becomes fearless. So ask yourself an honest question. What story are your daily actions telling? Are they saying, I always quit? Or are they saying, I finish what I start? The answer isn't found in your dreams. It's found in your routine. Every morning gives you another opportunity to rewrite your identity, not with words, with actions. Here's another mistake many people make. They believe discipline means doing everything perfectly. It doesn't. Discipline means returning. You will have bad days. You will feel tired. You will lose focus. That isn't failure. Failure begins only when you convince yourself that one mistake defines who you are. Never let one missed day become two. Never let one setback become a new identity. A ship changes direction with a tiny movement of the wheel. Your life changes the same way. A small correction today can completely transform where you arrive years from now. Remember this. Success is rarely created in one extraordinary moment. It is built inside hundreds of ordinary moments, when nobody is watching, when nobody is applauding. When the only person who knows you kept your promise is you, and strangely enough, that is exactly where real confidence is born, not in front of the world, but in the quiet moments, where your actions finally begin to match your intentions. From this day forward, stop asking, how do I become successful? Instead ask, what kind of person do my actions prove I am becoming? Because once your identity changes, consistency is no longer something you force. It becomes something you naturally protect, and that is where true transformation begins. Why you always lose consistency. Chapter 3. The power of momentum. Narrator. Imagine standing at the bottom of a massive mountain. You look all the way to the top. The distance feels impossible. Your mind immediately begins asking questions. What if I fail? What if I'm not strong enough? What if I never make it? Most people lose before taking the first step, not because the mountain defeated them, but because their imagination did. Your brain has a strange habit. It loves to exaggerate the size of the journey, but it completely ignores the power of a single step. Look at a river. It doesn't cut through rock because it's powerful. It cuts through rock because it never stops flowing. Consistency isn't about intensity. It's about continuity. It's about continuity. Most people believe success comes from giant moments, one incredible workout, one perfect business idea, one viral video, one lucky opportunity. But extraordinary lives are rarely built by extraordinary days. They're built by ordinary days repeated thousands of times. Think about your favorite YouTuber. You see millions of subscribers. You see polished videos, you see success. What you don't see are the hundreds of videos nobody watched, the nights spent editing until sunrise, the moments they questioned everything. The days they wanted to quit. Success hides its history. You only see the final chapter. That's why comparison is dangerous. You're comparing someone else's finished story to your first draft. Every person you admire once stood exactly where you are now, confused, uncertain, invisible. The only difference, they kept walking. Here's another truth: your brain loves streaks. Have you ever noticed how satisfying it feels to complete a habit several days in a row? After 5 days, you don't want to lose the streak. After 10 days, it becomes part of your routine. After 30 days, missing one day feels strange. This is momentum, and momentum is far more powerful than motivation. Motivation comes and goes, momentum grows, protect it. Even if you have only 5 minutes, do something. Read one page, write one paragraph, record one idea, walk around the block. Never allow your progress to stop completely. Small actions keep momentum alive, and momentum keeps identity alive. Remember, a stopped train requires enormous energy to move. A moving train requires very little energy to keep going. Your habits follow the same law. The goal isn't to work harder every day. The goal is to avoid stopping. One skipped day becomes two, two become a week becomes a month, eventually. You convince yourself you failed, but failure rarely arrives overnight. It arrives one excuse at a time. Protect today's action, because today's action protects tomorrow's momentum. And tomorrow's momentum builds the future you've been dreaming about all along. Don't chase perfection, chase movement. Don't chase motivation, chase momentum. Because the people who achieve extraordinary things are rarely the most talented. They're usually the ones who simply refuse to stop moving. One step, one habit, one promise, one day at a time. And before you realize it, the mountain that once looked impossible will be behind you. Why you always lose consistency. Chapter 4, the identity trap. Narrator. Have you ever noticed? Some people don't have to force themselves to do difficult things. They wake up early, exercise regularly, read every day, finish what they start, and somehow it looks effortless. You might think they have more discipline, but that's not the real difference. The real difference is much deeper. They don't act disciplined. They believe they are disciplined. That belief changes everything. Imagine two people standing in front of a staircase. Both are tired. Both had a long day. Both hear the same voice inside their heads. Skip today's workout. The first person thinks, I'm trying to become someone who exercises. The second person thinks, I'm an athlete. They experience the same emotion. But they respond differently. Why? Because your identity is stronger than your emotions. Your brain constantly asks one silent question. What would a person like me do? If you believe you're someone who always quits, your brain will look for proof. If you believe you're someone who keeps promises, your brain will search for evidence of that instead. Your identity becomes a filter. It decides which actions feel natural and which ones feel impossible. This is why changing your life begins by changing the story you tell yourself. Think back to when you learned to ride a bicycle. At first, every movement required your full attention, balance. Steering, pedaling, everything felt difficult, but after enough repetition, you stopped thinking. The skill became part of you. Discipline follows the same path. At first, it feels unnatural. Then it becomes familiar. Eventually, it becomes automatic. The mistake most people make is expecting automatic behavior before they've earned it. They quit because it still feels hard. But of course it feels hard. You're building a new identity. That process always requires repetition. Here's a simple exercise. Instead of asking, did I reach my goal today? Ask, did I act like the person I want to become? Maybe you didn't lose weight today, but did you eat like a healthy person? Maybe your YouTube channel didn't grow today, but did you create content like a professional creator? Maybe you didn't earn more money today, but did you manage your time like a successful entrepreneur? Success isn't built by chasing outcomes. It's built by repeating identities. Every action is a vote. Every choice says, this is who I am. one vote won't change your life, but thousands of votes will transform it completely. There will still be days when doubt appears. Days when your old habits call your name. That's normal. Your old identity won't disappear quietly. It will fight to survive. It will remind you of every failure, every excuse. Every moment you gave up. Listen carefully. You don't have to argue with that voice. You don't have to silence it. You simply have to keep walking, because every step forward makes the old voice a little quieter and the new identity a little stronger. One morning, without realizing it, you'll wake up, do the work, keep your promises, and only later will you notice something incredible. You didn't force yourself. You simply became the kind of person who does what needs to be done. That is the moment discipline stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like freedom. Why you always lose consistency. Chapter 5. The compound effect of small wins. Narrator: imagine holding a single drop of water in your hand. It feels insignificant, almost meaningless. Now imagine that same drop falling on the same rock every single day for 20 years. Eventually, the rock begins to change, not because the water was powerful, but because it never stopped. This is how extraordinary lives are built, not with giant breakthroughs, but with tiny victories, repeated relentlessly. Most people are addicted to dramatic change. They want to lose 20 pounds in a month, earn $1 million in a year, go viral overnight, master a new skill in weeks. When reality doesn't match those expectations, they quit. Not because they're incapable, but because they underestimated the power of small progress. Nature has never rushed, yet forests grow, mountains form, oceans shape continents. Everything meaningful takes time. So why do we expect our own lives to transform instantly? Because we compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. We see the successful entrepreneur, but not the 10 years of failure. We admire the athlete, but not the thousands of lonely mornings. We celebrate the author, but never the nights they stared at a blank page. Success always hides the repetition. The world notices the finish line. It rarely notices the footsteps. Here's something remarkable. If you improve by just 1% every day, those improvements begin to multiply. At first, the difference is invisible. After a month, you notice small changes. After a year, you become almost unrecognizable to the person you used to be. This is the compound effect. Tiny choices, creating massive outcomes. Every healthy meal, every chapter you read, every workout you finish, every hour you spend learning instead of scrolling. None of them change your life alone. Together, they rewrite your future. Never underestimate a small promise, because small promises create strong identities. Strong identities create consistent actions, and consistent actions create extraordinary lives. Here's another truth. Your future isn't built on your best days. It's built on your average days. Anyone can work hard when they're excited. The real question is, who are you when nobody is watching? Who are you on ordinary Tuesday mornings? Who are you when the weather is bad? When you're tired? When nobody applauds? That is where destiny is quietly written. People think greatness is loud. In reality, greatness is usually silent. It looks like waking up early, again, opening the book, again, filming another video, again, again. The world may never notice these moments, but your character does, your future does, and slowly